Good morning. I want you to know that do you have an answer to the following question? How do I lead my team through uncertainty? Now, the reason why I want to spend this morning talking about uncertainty is because there's really an important challenge. There's an important challenge that is happening for everybody right now in the country. And I want to lay it out front for everybody to just understand. Number one, 260,000 federal workers have taken early retirement in the last 12 months. A recent decision by the Supreme Court has given the president the ability to get rid of more federal employees now than ever before. You have other federal employees who are making a decision in the next 30 days to take an early voluntary retirement. This is decapitating the federal workforce in such a way that a lot of services and things will be disrupted over the next 4 years. In addition to that, the private sector is concerned about uncertainty. You have hiring freezes, you have layoffs, you have postponements, you got cost cutting, you got all kinds of things happening. Microsoft, Google, Meta are all making a decision to double and triple down on AI to replace employees rather than hiring employees. And for your current workforce, all of this makes them nervous. It makes them significantly nervous. So when I say it makes them nervous, some of them are uncertain about the future. They're uncertain about their future. They're uncertain about the company's future or your organization's future. Will we survive all that is going on? And so when your employees are confronted with this type of confusion, concern, uncertainty, they want to know, are we going to make it? And it's up to you as a leader to convey that message. So again, I'm going to repeat my question. Do you know how to lead your team through uncertainty? And I can tell you that in this current environment, there's so many leaders who are struggling and grappling on what to say, how to respond, and what their people need to hear. They're thinking about writing a long memo, a policy memo explaining what the current landscape means, what it looks like, and what we're going to do. And I'm here to tell them memos will not get it done. They want to send out an email to assure everybody that we're doing the right things in response to the current environment. Your people don't want to read your email. They're sending out blast messages and surveying the employees around how they're feeling at the present time. Nobody wants a survey. They don't want to hear about a survey. They don't need another survey. They expect you to already know what's going on with them. And so what do you want to do, or what do they want you to do in this time? They want you to lead through uncertainty. But the challenge is so many leaders don't know how. And let me give you an example. I got a phone call last week from a CEO of a very large healthcare organization. This CEO explained that in a couple of weeks, his entire organization is going to be together. The leadership of the organization, not just the employees, but the leadership of the organization is going to be together. And he has to give opening remarks to a meeting about the current environment. And he's looking for a powerful and compelling way to share the sentiment of what his employees are feeling, how they should be responding, and what they need to do next. And I told this CEO his job is to tell them a story. See, in the midst of all of the adversity that is going on, people don't need facts and memos. They need a story that grounds them in purpose. The purpose around why you do what you do, why they are needed, what the challenge is, and how you're going to get through it. See, that story must have 4 simple parts. Part number 1, what is happening in the landscape? Number 2, here's what we're doing because of what's happening. Number 3, why it matters on what we're doing. And number 4, here's how we move forward. Now, I just gave it to you very simply, very easily, the 4 things that your team is looking for. But you can't give it to them in a memo. You can't give it to them in an email. You can't give it to them in a press statement. And God forbid you tell this to the news media or you tell it to your shareholders before you tell it to your employees. Don't give them the stats and the statistics. Don't give them the policy statement. It's not enough. They want to hear a story. Now, I have seen this time and time again. From my time working in the White House facing adversity, from my time working in corporate America facing that adversity, and my time working with lots of large organizations, helping them to lead through uncertainty. And I want you to know your story matters more than anything else. I had a business mentor. His name was Jeff Weber. He used to say, Anton, facts tell, but stories sell. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying to you that when your team, your organization is facing the adversity of unemployment, layoffs, cutbacks, loss of revenue because of what's happening in a big, beautiful bill, particularly for healthcare organizations, $1 trillion will be taken out of healthcare. When your team is facing uncertainty or adversity, I want you to know your story matters. See, you need to create a story that is compelling, that is clear, that is hopeful, that is honest, that says to your people, I see what you see. I understand what you understand. See, gone are the days are the emperor has no clothes kind of mentality, which is you want to give people all of the toxic positive narratives, but not be honest about what's really going on. That doesn't work. You can't pretend like everything's going to be fine, like you're the captain on the deck of the Titanic, telling everybody it's going to be fine. Keep playing, band. Keep playing the music. Everything is going to be fine. Everything is not fine. You don't even really have the answers of what's going on. And so if you don't have the answers, I know there's a fear about wanting to communicate something when you don't have answers. Well, what I'm telling you is that in the absence of communication, in the absence of knowledge, your people are going to make up their own story. They're going to make up their own narrative. They're going to make up what you're going to do about what's going on, their response to what's going on. What you don't want them to do is to make up their own narrative. You don't want to pretend that everything is fine. Aaron, you're exactly right. Everything is not fine. But too many leaders would rather pretend that things are fine than to be honest with their people about the uncertainty. See, there's this leadership myth that you have to have all of the answers. You're not artificial intelligence. You don't have all of the answers in the universe. There are some knowns, there are some unknowns, there are some known unknowns, and then there are some unknown unknowns. So you have to be honest about the known knowns, the known unknowns, and the known and the unknown unknowns you just won't know. But you still have to communicate to your team with clarity, with hope, with honesty, and with truth. See, I have this phrase that says the truth doesn't hurt, it heals. See, a lot of people say, if I tell them the truth, it's going to hurt. It's going to make them even more anxious. They're going to be even more afraid. They're going to be even more scared. There's going to be, they're going to quit on me. My team is going to quit on me. Here is what I want you to understand. That the truth doesn't hurt. It heals. So you got to be completely honest, completely transparent, unequivocal in that transparent, heartfelt in that transparency. And you got to do it at the right time. And when I say the right time is now, not later, is now. So if you want to lead your team through uncertainty, you have to be transparent and honest and share the story. So when I got this call from the CEO telling me about this big meeting and everybody's going to be there and he's got 5 minutes to set the stage and to set the table, you know what I told him to do? I told him to tell everybody a story that is rooted in facts, a story that's rooted in his experience, a story that's rooted in his leadership, that acknowledges the reality of what's going on. And I gave him an example of a story that I used to share when I was in corporate leadership about an experience I had. Here's the experience. I'm working at a safety net hospital, a very large hospital. It's essential to care in the community. We live and worked on the coast of South Carolina. And every year, every summer, between June and November, we know that it is hurricane season. We know that storms form off of the coast of Africa. They make their way through the Caribbean and then up the coast of South Carolina. Sometimes we get mist. Other times we just get a little wind and rain. And sometimes we get a direct hit. And when that storm is coming, when we know it's coming, we have to prepare our people for the storm. We have to assign people A shift or B shift. And A shift know that you might be in the hospital for 4 or 5 days. So we got to have cots and water and places for people to take shower and food and rations. We got to have all of these things because the storm is coming. And when the storm hits, we got to keep working and getting it done during the storm because our patients matter more than anything else. That we're here to protect life and to save life. So we have to be prepared when the storm is coming. And then when the storm is here, we got to keep everybody motivated, keep everybody hydrated, keep everybody focused, keep everybody rested to reduce the hysteria when the storm is around us. But we also have to communicate that the storm will eventually be over. That it won't be this is not going to be a 6-week storm or 8-week storm. That most hurricanes, even when they sit for a long time, might be a 7-day experience. And so the story is how the team weathered that storm, how they responded in that storm, whether the glimmers of hope and the inspiration and excitement that we had during that storm. What life did we save? How do we, innovate during the storm? What did we change about how we normally would do things? And we got through it and how we got through it together. Stories matter. So I want you to know that your people see the storm is coming. As a matter of fact, the storm is already here. 260,000 voluntary retirements or early retirements. There are other layoffs happening. AI is a storm. We don't know what the economy is going to be. We got a bad jobs report in the last month. So there's a lot of things that are uncertain for you as a leader, that are uncertain for you and your team right now. I know it. They know it. And you should know it. So you have to lead through this uncertainty by sharing a story that matters. Your story matters more than your strategy. Because when times are tough, people need hope. They need inspiration. They need motivation. They need something that grounds them, that reconnects them to purpose. So it's your job as a leader to not allow the silence to take over. Because if you don't tell your people a story, they will create their own story. Do not let silence become the narrative. See, one of my favorite rappers of all time is a guy named Nas. And he has a song called Hate Me Now. And there's a line in the song that says, people fear what they don't understand and hate what they can't conquer. That's just a theory of man. Now, the first part of that bar is that people fear what they don't understand. So if they don't know what this uncertainty is or the answers to the uncertainty, they're going to be more afraid. And when they become more afraid, they're going to take matters into their own hands. They're going to make their own decisions. That's going to cost you your culture and your organization. They might quit. They might act out. They might do all kinds of manner of things because of the times that we're in. So you have to tell them a story so they're not afraid. You got to make them understand so they have clarity. You got to give them the facts inside the story. So I want to make sure that I give you a roadmap of how you need to tell this story, what the story needs to be about, what the focus needs to be. And then if you need some more help with this, you should just go to antongunn.com/blog and download my leadership story checklist to make sure that you got everything in there. So let me make sure I tell you right now. Number one, you need to be honest and transparent. Acknowledge what is going on. Literally state the facts of the matter, of the case right now. The team, the big, beautiful bill has just passed. There's going to be $1 trillion in cuts to healthcare. Millions of our patients may lose health insurance coverage, which means when they come to the hospital, we still have to treat them, but we won't get reimbursed for it. That means our revenues are going to go down. And if our revenue is going to go down, there are non-essential personnel who might be laid off. I don't know when this is going to happen. The leadership team and I are trying to come up with a plan right now. That's one example. A second example is if your company is a government contractor. The big, beautiful bill is cutting out X, Y, and Z in the government, which means we have just lost our $4.3 million contract. So all 30 employees who work on this contract, you're going to be laid off. That's unfortunate. But here's what we're going to do to help you in the midst of the layoff. So again, that level of honesty and transparency is what's required in this moment. It's what's required in this moment. And you got to tell them a story that, okay, this is the facts of the matter, but here is what we're going to do. Here is what we're doing in response to the current environment. This is our 3-step plan in the midst of all of this. Here's what we're doing. That's the second thing, is what are you doing? The third thing is, why does it matter? We have to do this because we have to stay in business. We have to do this because our community depends on us. We have to do this because we can't sacrifice the many for the few. That you might have to lay off 25 people to save 250 people. And that's okay. Nobody wants to be laid off, but you might have to lay off 25 people to save 250 people, or 25 people to save 2,500. Whatever it is, you got to be okay with being that transparent. You got to say it clearly. But you also need to give people a vision of hope of where you're going to be after this is over. So when I say after this is over, remind them that nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. Everything changes. Change is the one consistent constant that we all will have in our lives. Sometimes change comes fast, sometimes change comes slow, but it will change. So you make sure that your people understand that change will come, that we will be on the other side of this at some point. Maybe it's 2026, maybe it's 2028, maybe it's 2032. It will come. But the longer the horizon, the more you need to communicate about what's going on. And you need to communicate with some level of consistency. Don't just make the statement one time, but remind people over and over again what the challenge is, what are you doing, why does it matter? That means you got to have a purposeful conversation as a leader with your team, a purposeful conversation. You also need to remind your team that you are resilient. Not you as a leader, but your organization is resilient. That we've been through storms before. We went through the Great Recession in 2009. That we went through the last whatever thing. We went through COVID. Listen, so many people did not survive during COVID. And I want to give honor and respect to those who are no longer with us because they didn't make it through COVID. But if you're hearing this video, you're hearing this audio, you're seeing this video, that means you made it through COVID. You may not be the same as you were before, but you did make it through. And so you have some resiliency. We all have some resiliency. So you need to remind people by telling them a story that we are resilient, that we're going to make it through. And I want to close with one simple point, or really a point and a half. I'm going to call it that way. As a leader, there's going to be this temptation to try to answer every single question. You're going to believe and think that you got to have all answers to everything. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't. It's okay to say, I don't know, if you don't know. But the last thing you want to do is to say, I don't know, but you really do have a plan around what you're going to do. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to tell people the truth. And you want to show yourself to be the type of leader that people want to follow in the midst of uncertainty. You want to be the type of leader that people respect and admire because you were transparent, because you told them the game plan of what they were doing, and you gave them a sense of purpose about why your work matters regardless of what the adversity is. And you gave them clarity around what you're going to do moving forward. That's how you lead your team through uncertainty, by telling them a story that is grounded in your reality, that gives them hope, that gives them inspiration, but it is clear, it's transparent, it's honest, to let them know that you see what they see. So if this video was impactful for you, I want you to like it. I want you to comment. I want you to share it. You have to be a leader that leads your team through uncertainty. I want to thank you for watching. See you next time on LinkedIn, a Leadership Live with Anton Gunn. Take care.